I'm Sarah of Expat in Croatia. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is 5 Question Friday. Every Friday at 5 o'clock Croatia time, I answer 5 questions from people who have sent them in to us through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, expatinCroatia.com, emails, my consulting sessions where I help people live in Croatia, and people who ball them up and throw them through my window. So today I've got 5 awesome questions for you. Super jazzed about it. Before we get started, I have lots to say, as I usually do. First, last week we did have a 5 Question Friday, but Instagram ate it. So sometimes Instagram does this thing where it just refreshes whenever it feels like it, and it was doing that in the midst of me trying to publish it. So it was lost forever to time. So if you were here last week, you were the only ones who got to see that episode. And it was really kind of a bummer because Danielle and I were chatting and we're like, that was a really great episode. And now it's just gone forever. Oh, hi Jamie, Merry Christmas. Love you too. Mwah, mwah, mwah. So glad you're here. Okay, what's next? I don't know, I'm vibrating with energy right now. Because today is our last day, technically, working. We're taking a proper Croatian holiday, the whole company, which means from tomorrow, Christmas Eve, until January 8th, we are closed. The company's closed, and we're taking very long time off. So it's very common in Croatia. I mean, not every company does this, but it's very common in Croatia that you go on vacation until January 6th, which is 3 Kings. And that falls on a Friday this year, which means that we won't actually be back in the office until January 9th. And we're all super jazzed about that. So if you contact us during that time, we'll get back to you when we return. Ooh, it looks like we've got a question. This is about Schengen. So I'm going to kind of jump around here a bit. First, next 5 questions, next Friday, is all about Schengen. So it'll just be Schengen questions. I will go over 5 questions that I've gotten about Schengen, and I will also answer questions live about Schengen. We are getting so many questions about Schengen. So if you are interested to know what the changes are going to be for Croatia once it enters the Schengen zone on January 1st, tune in next Friday for a special Schengen-only edition of 5 Question Friday. So to answer Satjav's question, I'm Indian, I'm here on a temporary residence permit. Can I be eligible to travel in Schengen countries from the 1st of January by road? Yes. The answer is yes, because there's no border checks within the Schengen zone. All the border checks are going to go down between Croatia and other Schengen countries like Hungary and Slovenia. So yes, technically you can do that. Okay, so tune in next Friday for Schengen-only stuff. Now, like I said, I'm super vibrating because I've been trying to get a million things done today. The whole team is trying to get a million things done today so that tomorrow we can officially be on vacation. I think that may not be quite realistic for me, but I'm doing my absolute best. I'm just bouncing from task to task to task to task to task, trying to get all these things done. And yeah, I don't know, I'm wired. I feel like I've had 5 coffees today. I've had 2 coffees today. But I feel like I've had 5 or 10 or 20. I don't know. I'm going to say this very quickly. Expat in Croatia is now big enough for there to be imposter accounts, and a fan of ours saw that there's an imposter account of us here on Instagram. So we don't want to draw attention to this account because they are an imposter. But if you happen to see them in your feed, please report them to Instagram as being fake. It'll be obvious that they're fake because they've got like 5 followers or something like that. So just please help us protect our company and our brand. We'd really appreciate it. Okay, what's next? Women's Month. So we are currently promoting our Women's Month campaign. So throughout the entire month of March, we're celebrating women. And as part of that, we are opening up nominations to all of you to showcase extraordinary female entrepreneurs as well as women in leadership roles, whether it be in their country, company, or community. So if you would like to nominate someone, go to expatinCroatia.com/women, and we will have 4 winners, and they will be selected by an independent panel in January. Those winners will be interviewed for expatinCroatia.com, which we get about 100,000 people who view that site on a monthly basis. They will also be promoted in our newsletter, which goes out to over 7,000 people every week. They will also be showcased across all of our social media, and they're going to get a little swag from us. I'm putting that together right now. So it's expatinCroatia.com/women. You can also find the link at the link in our profile. You can also send us a DM and say, hey, what's the link? And we will send it to you as well. So nominations are open through the end of the month. What else? Oh, I hear fireworks going off, because that always happens in the lead up to New Year's. There are fireworks that people set up off in the neighborhoods, and it sounds like war. And they just start to get closer and closer together as you get closer to New Year's. So today I started to hear it. So I don't know if you can hear it, but there are like bombs going off everywhere. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll back down, make sure I don't miss anything. All right, so what else? What else do we have? Yeah, I think that's it. Now we can jump into the questions, guys. How's that sound? Thank you so much for being here. I really love spending this time with you on Fridays. So, let's get started. If you are brand new to 5 Question Friday, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to answer some questions about Croatia. And if you have any questions you would like answered, you can drop them in real time here in the comments. Okay. So this first one comes from Croatia Wine Trails here on Instagram. What do the 5 symbols mean in the checkered crown on the Croatian flag? I was so excited to get this question because we've never been asked that before. Now we do have a post all about the Croatian flag, so if you would like that, send us a DM. We would be happy to send it to you. But I'm going to go over the coat of arms with you right now. So the Croatian flag is blue and white and red. And in the center, it has this crest. And on the top of the crest, you have 5 little blocks. Sorry, I don't know what to call them other than what they are. They're shields. They're shields, excuse me. They're shields. So there are 5 different little shields that are on top of this crest that has red and white checks. So I'm going to explain what all of that means right now. So first, the shield itself with the checks. So that is 25 red and white checks. And you need to have the red check in the top left-hand corner. If there's a white one there, it is deeply problematic. And it's actually written in the Croatian law that it has to have the red check in the upper left-hand corner. We're not going to go into why it's problematic. If you would like to read that, it is in our post that we can share. You just send us a DM. So next, above the main shield, you have the crest. You have these 5 little shields. So going from left to right, the first is the oldest known coat of arms of Croatia. It's blue with a new moon and a 6-pointed star that's called a danica. And that is a common name for the planet Venus, which I think is pretty neat. Next is the coat of arms for the Republic of Dubrovnik. Dubrovnik used to be its own republic, which I think is pretty fascinating. Texas was also its own republic, sovereign nation for 9 years. So that's kind of interesting. So that is blue and red stripes. And then the third one is 3 lion heads, and this is Dalmatia. Fourth is Istria, and this is a goat with red horns and red hooves. And then the last one represents Slavonia. Slavonia is in the northeastern part of the country. So on the Slavonian shield, you have the kuna, which is an animal. It's a little furry animal that their furs used to be traded, and that is why the currency in Croatia, well, at least for the next 8 days, is called the kuna. So on the Slavonian shield, it's the kuna with 2 white stripes, and those white stripes have been described as being the two rivers, the Drava and the Sava, which encircle Slavonia. So that is the explanation for the shields on the Croatian flag. So like I said, if you want to know more, send us a DM and we'd be more than happy to share that post with you so you can read a lot more about the Croatian flag's history, because Croatia has had many flags over its existence. And so we go into that in more detail. So I see there's a few questions coming in. So before I get into this second question, I'm going to go and answer some of these questions. Okay. WLDCT 1998. Hi, thanks so much for asking a question. Any advice for trying to find very old birth certificates from Zagreb? I understand it was once many different villages. Oh, that's a good question. Okay, there's several things I can say about this. So one, you can contact the Matični Ured office in Zagreb. Matični Ured is the registrar. So in Croatia, there's not a centralized database for birth certificates. It's by jurisdiction. So you can contact them with proof of your relative, as much information as you have, their name, their birthplace, their birth date, your connection to them to prove that you have a right to this information, and then they can go and see if they have it. You can also go in person and ask them. Very old birth certificates, depending on how old they are. So World War II and later usually are digitized. Before that, they're not digitized. If they're not digitized, then usually you have to then go to the National Archive for something like that. But you should always start with the registrar. Now, in some cases, people were born in churches, and it's the churches who hold the birth certificates. So it really depends on the age, depends on the place. So it's kind of a multi-step process. And if you ever want help finding old birth certificates, we have a vetted network of lawyers who can help you out. Just send us a DM and we'd be happy to make an introduction for you. So that answers that question. Thank you so much. Okay, what's next? Okay. I have a Schengen visa. Can I enter Croatia? Yes, you can. You can enter Croatia now. You can enter Croatia after January 1st, because Croatia recognizes Schengen visas even though Croatia is not technically in the Schengen zone yet. They have done that for quite a long time. So yes, you can enter Croatia, and then after January 1st, we will be entering the Schengen zone. And as I said at the beginning of this, for anyone who joined later, next Friday I will be doing a Schengen-only 5-question Friday. Okay, all right, so next, question number 2. This comes from Follow My Broom on Instagram. I really love your handle. That's pretty cool. How are foreign or dual citizenship individuals with retirement income taxed? This is a fabulous question. So the answer is it depends on whether or not your country has a double taxation treaty in place with Croatia. If it does, it depends on the terms of that agreement. So every double taxation treaty is different and has different terms. So in some of them, it gives you protection so that you are taxed on your retirement income or pension income in the country where you make that income. And some of them say it's based on residence, which means that if you are a tax resident of Croatia, then you would have to pay those taxes on your foreign income, retirement income here in Croatia. In Croatia, we have income tax based on residency. So once you are in Croatia for 183 days, you are considered to be a tax resident by law. Now, taxes are an incredibly complex topic. We cannot give tax advice. That's like a legal thing. So what we do is we educate you on the system and the rules, but if you want to know exactly what your tax liability is for your situation, then you need to speak to a tax advisor. And if you want to speak to one and you would like a recommendation, we have a vetted network of tax advisors and accountants here in Croatia that can do an evaluation for you so you know exactly what you might expect. Now, there are some countries that do not have double taxation treaties in place with Croatia. The United States is one. Now, I talked about this on last week's 5-Question Friday, which Instagram ate, so you cannot go back and watch it. But I talked at length about the double taxation treaty with the United States. So it's been in progress for many, 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 many years. They just signed it, yay, but it hasn't been ratified yet. It still has to be ratified by the US Congress as well as Croatian's parliament. So it could take up to a year or longer for that to happen. So it's not actually in place yet. Other countries that don't have a double taxation agreement in place, Australia and Mexico. And Argentina. There is a list of double taxation treaties that the tax office puts out. So if you would like that list, send us a DM and we would be happy to send it to you so you can check and see if your country is on that list. Okay. What else? All right. So next question is from Dean. This came in on email. Does having a felony affect getting Croatian citizenship? Most likely, yes. So whenever you are applying for citizenship or applying for residence for that matter, you have to provide a criminal background check. Now, excuse me, I'm burpy for some reason. I think it's because I'm so anxious. Whenever I get anxious, I get burpy. Okay, so whenever you're applying for citizenship, you must have a background check from your country of nationality. When you're applying for residence, you need to have a background check from the country where you have lived the previous 12 months, or if you have not lived in the same country for the previous 12 months, it must be from the country where your country of nationality. So, when you have a background check, Croatia is looking for felonies. If you have felonies, then most likely they are going to deny your residence or they're going to deny your citizenship. Now, here's the problem. Not all countries classify their crimes as being misdemeanors or felonies. Case in point, Australia and Canada, I believe, neither one of them uses the felony versus misdemeanor system. So let's say that you have a crime on your record and you're from a country that does not differentiate between a felony and a misdemeanor. What do? This is what you do. You have a lawyer in your country, in the country where you committed the crime. Make a letter. Make a letter that you can give to the Croatian government that says, this is an explanation of this crime in our country, in this jurisdiction. It is not considered to be the equivalent of a felony. It is considered to be a misdemeanor. So that is a letter that needs to be from a lawyer on their letterhead, translated into Croatian, so that that can be provided with your application. Is it a guarantee? No. But that gives you the absolute best chance of overcoming that hurdle. Okay. And if you have a criminal charge on your record and you're not quite sure if it's a felony or a misdemeanor, or you just want to have it vetted by a Croatian lawyer to see what they think, if they think it's a deal breaker, send us a DM. We'd be happy to introduce you to a lawyer who can advise you on your specific case. Like, we can say, yeah, maybe not, but ultimately I would go with a lawyer's advice on that, just to be absolutely safe. And then ultimately it comes down to MOP here, the Ministry of the Interior, who makes the decisions. Okay, thank you so much, Dean, for that question. Okay, so next, this is from Julie. This is from Facebook. So Julie asks, just a quick question for those with kids. Did the police ask you to have your kid's name on your apartment lease for a renewal of temporary residence? No. Kids never have to be on a rental contract. That is never necessary. Only the adults need to be on it. And if you are in a relationship, both of you should be on the rental contract. Because in Croatia, you need to always register your address. And to register your address, you need to have some kind of proof from the landlord or proof that you own the property to be able to register that address. So you either need to be on the land registry as the owner, both of you, or you both need to be on the rental contract. But kids never have to be on the rental contract. They are connected to you through their birth certificates. That's a great question. We never got that one before, so I'm really excited that we got to answer it today. Okay, we've got a question coming in from the audience. Any course you recommend for starting to learn Croatian? Absolutely. Absolutely. I will tell you 2 courses. So we actually have 2 posts. We have a post about online free and paid courses. And then we also have a post for language schools in Croatia. Now, if you want those, send us a DM. I would be happy to send them to you. But let me tell you what my recommendations are here now. So for a free course, I recommend the University of Zagreb. They have a free A1 and A2 course. It's 45-minute segments. It does look like it was built in 1997, but it's very intuitive. And that's what I usually recommend to people when they're just getting started, because that way you can really gauge your interest in learning the language. I don't recommend starting off with a paid course from the very beginning, because you just don't know if you're going to commit to it, what your life's going to look like, etc. So yeah, that's University of Zagreb course, and we have the information on that. Just send us a DM. As far as the paid course, I would go with the Croatian language school. That is who I'm currently working with, and I love them. I've had many teachers over the years, but this is by far my favorite, and I feel like she's helping me unlearn a bunch of stuff that I was taught incorrectly, that I've been saying wrong for years. And I'm just getting so much confidence from it and having this very kind of quick improvement. So that's the Croatian language school. They are based out of London, although my teacher goes back and forth between Zagreb and London. It's owned by Croatians, and they have a school on Mali Lošinj, the island of Mali Lošinj, and they do an intensive course every summer, and I'm kind of really hoping that I can go. I don't know what the dates are, so I have to figure it out, because there's a conference I have to go to next July, but I would really love to do that next summer if I can make it work. So those are the recommendations that I would have. Okay, what else? What else? Okay, I think I got all the questions. Milica, I see. Hi. You said, maybe do you know better than me how to explain to an American guy? I'm not, explain what? Do you mind clarifying? And I'd be happy to respond to you. Okay. Follow-up question. How long did it take you to get fluent on this language? I am not fluent. I don't know that I'll ever be fluent. I mean, I am trying my absolute darndest to learn this language. It is very hard. I did a video a couple months back about why I'm not fluent in Croatian. If you haven't seen that video, I'd really encourage you to take a look at it. But to summarize, everyone's situations are different. Everyone learns differently. Everyone's brain processes information differently. And we all have different things that are going on in our lives. So we all learn at different speeds. So in my particular case, I had some personal struggles that I do share in that video that prevented me from learning for the first 3 years, like flat out prevented me. And then there were some other reasons that it took me a while until I could get started with a teacher. And then I also work quite a lot. I don't have a Croatian spouse. I don't go into a Croatian workplace. I don't have a Croatian mother-in-law. I work all day in English. It's a really big challenge, but aside from that, I really do feel like my brain scrambles. So I work as hard as I possibly can. Like I said, I'm in classes right now, and this is my 4th teacher in the time that I've been here. So I speak as much as I possibly can, and there's a lot of things that I do in my life to try and practice it. Speak as much as I can, learn as much as I can. I eavesdrop a lot. I read every sign that I see. I speak in my head when I'm at home to try and practice saying things so I can get more comfortable. But I do have I have a lot of social anxiety. This is something I've talked about a lot on this channel. I've talked a lot about it on the blog, because having social anxiety is really challenging to deal with, and I've gotten a lot better, but I still have a lot of residual social anxiety. And when you have social anxiety in a country that's not your native country, it just amplifies how hard it is to speak the language. So, you know, I'll repeat things in my head about 20 times, and I'll be like, oh my God, I got this down. And then I get in front of the person and I'm just like, So it just takes practice. You're never going to be perfect. You can never wait to be perfect to start speaking. You just have to be comfortable with making mistakes. So thank you so much for asking that question. Okay, so Milica, I see that you've added some stuff here. Why the electricity came with a huge cost for 4 months. Last year was lower. It's not clear to you. Okay, I will explain this. All right, so we're talking about electricity. Electricity comes from HEP. HEP is the National Electricity Company. So electricity has gone up. But I want to first set the stage on how electricity is charged in Croatia. So it is usually charged with average billing. So what that means is that you get a packet in the mail of 6 invoices, one for each month in a 6-month period. And it usually has the same price for each of those months that are based on your usage, but you pay them once a month based on those bills. That's when they decide the cost, is every 6 months. And at the end of that 6 months, they send you a new bill that either has a credit or it has an extra charge. So if you use more electricity than what you prepaid, then they charge you the balance, and they may adjust your average monthly bill going forward. If you prepaid, if you use less electricity than what you prepaid, then they give you a credit on your next bills. So that's essentially how it works. Now, as far as the increase in price, electricity has gone up in Croatia. So in our newsletter, we always include actionable news, things that impact your daily life. And something that we included in our newsletter a couple months back was that Croatia's electricity system is heavily subsidized and it can no longer support that subsidy. So they have to increase the prices. And that is just how it is. So that price is going to start to steadily increase. Now they are capping it, and they're doing it incrementally over the course of the next 6 to 8 months. But those prices are going up, and there's nothing that we can really do about it. So if you are concerned about that, I would definitely be a bit more conservative with your energy usage. That's all I can say. But yeah, I get an adjustment bill. That's how I refer to it whenever they send you that bill every 6 months to say where you stand. So my adjustment bill comes in January, and I'm pretty nervous about it, if I'm being honest, because I have no idea how hard I'm going to be hit with this increase. So yeah, I understand your concern, Milica. I mean, I honestly feel like we should all be pretty concerned about it. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard impact, you know, especially given how low Croatian salaries are. I just don't know how much of an impact that's going to have on everyone across the country. I mean, I think there's already a concern because of the euro, which we're getting on January 1st. And because of the euro, because of inflation, prices are already rising. So this is just another way that prices are rising. And it's not awesome. It's not awesome at all. So if you have any personal experiences you want to share with your electricity bills to show us, you know, share with us how big your bill's going up, feel free to send us some screenshots, and we might be able to put that on stories, you know, with your personal information blacked out. If you want to share with people like how much your bills have gone up, so other people are aware of what's going on. Tončica is my guess, is the name. You can always calculate it on your own and see how much you spend instead of waiting for an adjustment bill. Yes, that is absolutely right. And I was thinking that in my head, and I was trying to decide whether or not to say it, but that is absolutely true. You don't have to use the adjustment bills. That's just their standard method of doing it. But you can always calculate it on a monthly basis and then just pay that amount. And that way you have a negligible difference when you get the adjustment bill. So that is a great point. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Next question. So this next one is this our last question? Ooh, it is our last question. All right, so our last question of the day. This comes from Nancy. She submitted this on our 5 Question Friday forum. So we actually have a special forum just for submitting questions for 5 Question Friday. You can find it at the link in our bio, or you can send us a DM and we can send it to you. Of course, you can always submit a question in the comments below our post, or just send us a DM and send us a question. You don't have to use the form. But we also include this form in our newsletter, so we have a lot of people that submit it there. Looks like Tončica also said, all Croatians do it every month, even though they don't pay, but they know where they stand. The increases will be about 20% in general. Thank you so much. Yeah. I know my old ceramics teacher, she was very staunch about it. She was like, never use the average billing. Always calculate your monthly cost. I personally could not do that. I don't know, maybe if I'm here, I know I will be here for the rest of my life. Maybe at some point I'll be able to do it, but I'm not super great with numbers. I feel like I would screw that up very badly. But yes, there are a lot of Croatians who do that because they don't want to pay more than they actually owe. And I've had a couple of issues with the electricity. In my last building, the meter got changed. And there was this giant overage that was out of control. And then right now they gave me a huge bill in July for my last adjustment, and it didn't make any sense. I was like, I didn't have any klima. There's no way that I owe this much. I'm sorry, but I don't believe it. I don't believe it. So I put in a dispute, and I'm currently waiting on that dispute. We'll see what the outcome of that is. All right, so back to Nancy. If a Croatian citizen returns to live in Croatia for less than 6 months a year, are they exempt from paying mandatory health insurance premiums and filing an income tax return? Is there anything else they should know? Thanks. Ooh, lots of things. Okay, first, if you are a Croatian citizen and you're moving to Croatia for the first time, or the first time as an adult, we have a guide specifically for you. It's a guide on how to repatriate to Croatia. Repatriate essentially just means coming back to the country of your nationality. So it's kind of almost serves as like a checklist. So it goes through all the different things that you should think about, things that you should do, things that you should consider and keep in mind. So if you would like that guide, send us a DM and we'd be happy to send it to you. I mean, this comes in really handy for Croatian diaspora who are obtaining Croatian citizenship right now for the first time and have never actually lived in Croatia. So it will prove to be very helpful. Now, as far as taxes, I said a little bit earlier in this episode that you are a tax resident after you have lived in Croatia for 183 days per year, which is 6 months. So if you are in Croatia for less than 6 months per year, you are technically not a tax resident. And most likely, I'm going to say most likely, do not need to file an income tax return on your foreign income. I say most likely because, again, I cannot give you tax advice. I cannot tell you that 100,000% sure you do not have to file a tax return because every single person's situation is different. And if you want to be absolutely certain, I highly recommend speaking to a tax advisor, which we can introduce you to if you send us a DM. We cannot speak in absolutes with tax. I can give you the procedure and the requirements and the laws at the highest level, but every single person's situation is different. Now, I also want to note, if you're employed in Croatia, even if it's less than 6 months, you're going to have a hard time making a case that you are not a resident in Croatia for tax purposes. But when you are employed by a Croatian company, it's your company that's obligated to pay taxes on your income, not you. Okay, now, she also asked about health insurance premiums. Now, technically, every resident of Croatia is required to have health insurance. Now, the thing is they don't have any penalty if you don't. Now, if you sign up for state health insurance and just never pay the premiums, then the penalty is that you have to pay all those back premiums before you can activate your health insurance. But if you never sign up in the first place, there's not any kind of trigger to like hunt you down and like charge you some big fine. That's not a thing that ever happens. So if you are here under 6 months and you're not going to be an official resident, you don't want the health insurance, then you don't sign up for the health insurance. And it's just really as simple as that. Now, if you want to sign up for the health insurance, you can. You can sign up, and depending on your situation, you may have to pay a year of back pay, which I think is terrible marketing. It should not be called back pay. It should be called an investment in the system because they can't, once you are registered, you are covered. So if something happened to you the next day, you're covered. And Croatia's system is also heavily subsidized, and it cannot support an influx of foreigners who are signing up for the system and having not contributed anything. So that's why they require this 1 year of back pay, so that you have some kind of investment in the system, so the system does not collapse under the weight of all the new foreigners that are coming in, and diaspora as well. So you can sign up. You may have to pay back pay. There are some people that are exempt. And then you never have to pay the back pay again. So if you come here, you can sign up within 30 days. And then when you leave, you just go to the state health insurance fund, you unregister, and then as long as you sign back up again within 30 days of arrival the next time you come, you don't have to pay that back pay again. And then you just pay the premiums for the months you're here, and then you sign out again, and you can do that year after year after year. And honestly, that's kind of what I would recommend, because if you're here for half the year, you never know what's going to happen, and travel insurance just doesn't do it justice in case something catastrophic happens. Okay. What else? What else should I say about that? So she asks, is there anything else that you should know? Yeah, of course there are. You always need to register your address. We have guides on that, on how you can register your address. The police always want to know where you are. You should get an osobna iskaznica. That's a national ID card. I recommend that to all Croatian citizens. It doesn't matter whether you live abroad or not. It gets you access to a variety of services online. Also, you can travel within the EU on your ID card without your passport. And I just want to make sure that this is clear. This applies to Croatian citizens only. This does not apply to people with a residence permit in Croatia. Those are two different documents with two different kinds of capabilities. And aside from that, yeah, there's a number of those are the most important, but there's some other things to take into consideration. So like I said, we have a guide specifically for Croatian citizens who are coming back to Croatia. So if you like that, send us a DM. So that's it, guys. Those are our questions. And thanks for everybody who asked questions during this episode. Next Friday, it will just be about the Schengen. Croatia is entering the Schengen zone on January 1st, also entering the Eurozone on January 1st. We're saying goodbye to the kuna. I'm so sad about this. I really am going to miss the kuna, and I've been really working hard to get rid of all of my lipa over the last few weeks, and I'm almost there. But yeah, it's really hard to believe that it's going to be gone in like 8 days. Oh, I feel like I need to have a wake or something for the kuna. But yeah, the Euro is coming. The Schengen is coming. We have guides on both those things. If you want them, send us a DM and we'll send them to you. We're also going to be promoting that change on stories, so the link will be there as well in the coming days. And yeah, I wish you guys like super happy holidays. Whether you celebrate Christmas or not, I hope that you're all getting downtime over these holidays. You're staying cozy and warm and spending time with the people that you love the most in this world. And yeah, I wish you a happy New Year as well. Although I will see you next Friday, so before we go into the New Year, so we can talk about that then. But in the meantime, have a wonderful week. Is there anything else on my list I didn't miss? Oh yeah, I get to turn off my 6 a.m. alarm now. Yay! Thanks so much for being here. Love you so much. Vidimo se. Ciao. Sretan Božić. Vidimo se.